It's a orange juice.
So the balance update came out and these are the new interactions. The Inferno Dragon's range has decreased from 4 tiles to 3.5 tiles. This is a somewhat of a subtle nerf, but now it will take slightly longer for the tank to die if not placed within range. Inferno Tower and Inferno Dragon both reach maximum tier 3 damage in 4 seconds. But the Inferno Tower has a 5 tile reach, so it can hit tier 3 damage at a safer distance. Technically, it could reach tier 3 damage a little bit faster just because of the range. With the shorter range of the Inferno Dragon, it'll be slightly harder to use now, especially in scenarios where you need to plant the dragon first. It'll be closer to the bridge, more vulnerable to bats, minions, and Ewas. Fireball and Snowball can now knock back the Inferno Dragon. This knockback is also a true stun, therefore it will interrupt the Inferno Dragon's damage and reset its charge attack back down to tier 1 damage. This will not affect the Inferno Tower though, because buildings cannot be knocked back, so you won't need to worry about your tower's charge stream attack from being interrupted. The baby dragon is receiving a small tweak since it can be knocked back by the likes of Fireball and Snowball now. They're compensating for this vulnerability by making it attack faster, from 1.6 seconds to 1.5 seconds. It'll now be slightly more effective against Minion Horde, Goblin Gang, and even the Witch, producing those infinite skeletons. Balloon is not safe from these changes. Lava Loon decks are taking a huge hit in this balance update. Fireball and Snowball will knock back the balloon, separating the balloon from the tank, making it easier to take out. A perfectly timed balloon will be able to completely stop the balloon from getting a hit on your tower when timed correctly. The bomb will still damage the tower though. If you don't time the Fireball, that's another story. The balloon will get one hit on your tower and that's still pretty devastating. Snowball does not deal enough damage to prevent the balloon from connecting to your tower, so no matter how you time it, it's simply not enough damage, which is fair. It's a 2 elixir card. Don't forget about Rocket, it's a spell that knocks stuff back as well. This will now knock back the balloon. It's almost the hard counter. The balloon will still be a threat if there's a Lava Hound tanking for it, so you're gonna need to zap it or do something else, but at least the Rocket will separate the balloon, making it a little bit easier to deal with now. So the Piglet's first attack will now be 0.65 seconds faster. This is very small and very subtle and may not sound like much, but that means it's going to get 1 extra hit on your tower. These hits land almost immediately. The Knight was buffed because the Valkyrie and other tanks started to overshadow him. If this 5% buff does not shift his usage, Supercell will look into nerfing the Valkyrie in the near future. The Knight's slight damage buff is quite significant because it can now one-shot goblins. He'll be able to defend against Goblin Gang much easier. Even a Goblin Gang countering him will be slightly less effective since the stabby gobs fall faster. Even the Goblin Barrel will be stopped slightly faster now, especially if you plant him correctly. You just need to know that your Princess Tower always attacks the inside goblin first, so plant the Knight in the corner so he attacks the outer goblins. The Tesla's lifetimer has been reduced by 5 seconds. This is 12.5%. It won't linger on the map quite as long. It's had too high of a use rate in comparison to the other buildings. On top of the lifetimer nerf, they're reducing its attack speed by 0.1 second. It'll still one-shot minions. This is a 10% nerf in its DPS. This nerf also indirectly affects the Siege Expo archetype that we've all come to know and love, as the Tesla was its main source of defense. The Bomb Tower has had one of the lowest use rates of the cards in the game for over a year now. Believe it or not, there was a time when it was the most powerful card in the game with a 60-second lifetimer. So they're being a little bit more careful about this card. They're making this card a little bit more flexible to use, reducing its cost from 5 elixir down to 4 elixir. They're also reducing its health by 33% so that it doesn't dangerously overshadow the other ground-based building cards. the cannon cart is getting a pretty interesting buff. Its building lifetimer is being increased by 10 seconds. This means that left untouched, it'll survive 50% longer and can possibly tank one more hit from something like a spear goblin, since the health does decay a little bit slower. Another wonderful buff that this card is gaining is that it will not be able to knock back by anything except the legendary V-Log. This means Fireball, Bowler, Snowball, even the Mega Knight's jump will no longer be able to knock back the cannon cart. Back-to-back-to-back buffs, because the cannon cart in its building form will now have its first attack shoot a little bit faster. This means that it will get one more shot on your tower if left completely ignored. That first shot is definitely noticeable, so this is a massive buff to the cannon cart. To keep things consistent throughout the game, the Balance team decided to make the King Tower do equal damage to the Princess Towers, which, in my opinion, makes a lot of sense. Why would the King Tower do less damage? It should deal equal or more damage, not less. This changes many interactions when units are planted in the middle. It'll help defend against a lot of units slightly better. Battle Ram will no longer be able to connect to the tower on the third tile anymore. With this increase in damage, the Tornado's activation is slightly more valuable now. This is kind of an indirect buff to Tornado, which is really cool because it did receive a slight nerf recently. This update was meant to keep consistency throughout knockback among air units, so it is a huge hit to the Lavaloon deck archetypes than more of the other ones. So the Balloon, the Inferno Dragon, and the Baby Dragon is getting nerfed. Those three cards are most seen together in this archetype. Adding knockback to units also adds the ability to retarget units. The Death Ball of the Lavaloon, Inferno Dragon, Baby Dragon can now be split up to target them separately, which makes it a lot easier to deal with. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more quality OJ.